Hi, good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you in today's webinar. As always, we'll allow a couple of minutes to everyone to join in and settle down, and then we'll get started with our discussion. A very interesting discussion that we are going to have, and that is how you are going to use AI to your benefit, to your advantage, and how can you make yourself AI understandable. So, before we get on to that, let's allow some time for everyone to join in, and then we'll get started. But in the interim, we will use this time to discuss and understand how we are going to conduct today's session. Because this is a webinar format, and I am not sure if you are familiar with the webinar format. So, this is slightly different from the typical Zoom meetings that we are all accustomed of participating in. So, this is where you don't have a unmute option. So, how do you talk to me, or how do you we communicate? So if I want to seek your opinion, if I want to understand what do you think about something, or what is your perception about something, so that's where we will be using two options. One is the chat option. So chat is something that you can use very easily. It is just down there. So just click on it and we can start chatting. In fact, let me take the first step and greet everyone. So, hi everyone. So this hi everyone is what I have chatted. So this is something that we are going to use mostly in our interaction. So when I'm talking to you, when I'm conversing with you at any given point in time, if I want to seek your inputs, if I want to understand your opinion, etc. So that's where we are going to use the chat. The second tool that we are going to use today is the Q&A. So Q&A is tucked inside the more options. So if you look towards the side, I believe somewhere here, you'll find it. So there you will see Q&A, and that is something that you have to use to ask the questions. I'll keep both the Q&A and chat panel open on the other monitor. So if there's a question, I can answer immediately right away. I will try to do that so that it stays interactive, because otherwise these topics are generally very dry and boring, and that's where you will start feeling sleepy, or you will start scrolling reels on your phone. I don't want you to do that. I want you to understand this, because this is very important for your business, and you have already taken out your valuable time. So it is now my responsibility to keep you hooked, and I'll try my best to do that. So this is where I think we have waited enough, and we should now get started. So I can see few of the participants have just joined this session. So let me welcome all of you once again. Good evening, and a warm welcome to all of you in today's session. I can see few of the participants are my regulars. So I can see Alok Chaurasia ji. He is one of the regular participant into my webinar. So welcome, Alok ji. And I'm just going through the participant list. If there's any other familiar name, I can see. So welcome everyone. And this is where we are now getting started. So let me start sharing my screen. And while I do that, because I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with me, or how many of you has previously attended one of my session, one of my webinars. So if you have already attended one of my sessions, you can type yes in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I can know. I know Alokji has attended few of my previous sessions, and that's how I know him by the name. So I can see we have Mohit Kumar who has raised his hand. So wonderful. Isha has raised an hand. Imran has raised hand. So welcome. Nice to have you back. But many more participants whom I believe are joining me for the very first time. So as I start sharing my screen, I will share a quick introduction as well. So we have Chandra Prakash ji. He has also confirmed that he has attended few of my previous interactions. All right. So this is where I am now starting to present my screen, and in next few moments you'll start seeing my screen. Perfect. I'm not sure you will not believe the most stressful moment or few seconds for me are the ones when screen share starts, because previously at one time, uh, when I started the screen share, my entire machine crashed. I am not sure why it happened. I'd been doing like webinars for now 6, 7 years, and I've done more than 500 or countless of them, but it never happened. So whenever I'm starting to share the screen, that's where I become little more cautious and just pray that it does not get repeated. But thankfully, the screen share has started. I can see that on the preview that I have on the other monitor. But I would appreciate if you can also confirm that you're able to see my screen. So you can just type yes if you are able to see my screen. Now, while you're confirming, let me share a quick introduction about myself. So the name is Adnan. I'm Director Digital Commerce at Global Income. I have about 20 years of experience in digital and technology. And at Global Income, there are two roles I play. At one role is of a business head, wherein I head the digital commerce business at Global Income. The second role, and which is very close to my heart, and that is of a public speaker and trainer, wherein I get the opportunity to talk to people and share a little bit of knowledge and experience with business owners. Because in today's day and age, there are so many technology solutions which are available out there, but how familiar we are with those. In fact, I am a technology enthusiast, but still, there are many things that I don't know. But coming back to the point which I was trying to make, that because of this lack of know-how, many business owners are not able to effectively adopt digital, because it is, and not just now, for the last probably 5 years or 10 years, it has been a vision for almost every business to adopt digital and start growing business digitally. But many of them have not been able to do that. And the fundamental underlying reason has been the lack of technical know-how. So that's where I try to contribute by conducting as many sessions as possible. I've conducted more than 500 workshops and webinars in different countries, and had the wonderful opportunity of sharing a little bit of knowledge with about 19,000 business owners in various countries. So that's a quick introduction of myself. I'm going to share my contact details with all of you, and you are more than welcome to reach out to me if you need suggestion, clarification, guidance, anything you need. You can reach out to me. All right. So this is where let's get started. Now, today's discussion, as I mentioned, is around AI and how you are going to make your business AI understandable. So, for that, what I have thought of doing is I put together a small story, and I'm going to walk you through that story because, as I said earlier, this entire technology piece is little dry, and if I'm just talking, I myself, when I hear the recordings, start feeling bored and unengaged. So I'll try to explain this as a story. So that's where I hope you'll be able to understand and absorb it in a better way. All right, so let's move ahead. The title of the story is The Invisible Masterpiece. All right, so let's start. So many years ago, and this is where I'm starting the story. So you may be thinking like, where does the many years ago all of a sudden come? No, so this is where we are starting. So the story goes like this. Many years ago, there used to be a very rich and powerful king. Now, that king was very particular about his dress. He wanted to have the best dress made of the finest fabric and stitched proficiently, and he should be the finest looking person in the country, right? So he was very fond of dressing up nicely. Now, his birthday was coming, and that's where he had got the dress made from almost every known artisan in his country. And that's where he wanted to have something new. And that's where he called up his servants and told them that I need a unique dress for my upcoming birthday. And I want you to go to all the nooks and corners of my country and find me an artisan and get a wonderful dress made for my upcoming birthday. And that's where these servants were not an expert into the handicraft and in the textiles, etc. So they were absolutely terrified. Like, how will we do this Herculean task? We are not an expert. So there, they immediately reached out to one of the ministers who was very wise and he knew the country very well, and explained the problem that king has instructed us that we should be going and we should be getting the finest dress for the king from a new artisan or someone who has already not made a dress for him. So that's where a minister suggested that you should go to this particular city. It is very well known for artisans, and I don't think any of the artisans from that particular city has ever made a dress, and they have very unique art forms, etc. I have heard of them. So why don't you go there? I don't know any particular artisan, but I've heard that there are very good artisans there, and their art form is very unique. So you should go there and explore and get the dress made. So they immediately set out on that journey, and it was raining, and there were thunderstorms and whatnot. And because of that, they were not able to reach that city before the sunset. They reached that city after the sunset, and the entire city was deserted. But they somehow managed to find an elderly person, and they inquired that we are the king's servant and we are here to look for artisans who can make the finest dress for our king. And that's where that elderly person said that, boys, you are late. You should have come little early. But tomorrow you should go to Poshak Street where we have all the artisans who make dresses and handlooms. So you should go there and you'll find your artisan there. Because these servants were terrified. This was a very difficult task or something they were doing for the very first time. So they were terrified, and without wasting any more time, they just wanted to verify whether this street exists and are there artisans. So they went there and they strolled through the streets, and there was no one. So the entire street was deserted. It was entirely empty. There was no soul there. But they walked through the street despite the fact that it was entirely empty, but they still strolled through it looking at all those closed shops. And then when they were strolling through the street, they noticed that many of the shops had very good signboards on them about the artisan. So that's where they spoke between themselves that these artisans who have very nice and very wonderful, very shiny signboard, they appear to be the better artisans, and we should be meeting them tomorrow because we don't have much of a time. Within 7 days, we have to get the dress delivered to the king because king's birthday is in next 7 days. So we have to get the dress delivered in 7 days. So that's where they thought that we should be talking to them. We don't have time to waste. We have to do it immediately. So let's come first thing in the morning tomorrow, talk to these artisans and decide whom we should get the dress made. So the next morning, sorry, I so in the same street, there lived an artisan called Arvind. Now, Arvind had the finest craft. He was the finest artisan, and he was ideally the person king should have selected to get his dress made. But Irwin strongly believed that his craft, his skill will talk for himself, and he does not have to advertise himself. That's why he didn't even had a signboard on his shop. Only the locals who knew him and knew his craft, they only approached him, and his shop didn't had. Now, when these servants came back in the morning, they obviously went to the shop, which has the most flashiest and the nicest signboards, and they spoke to a few of the artisans. And after that, they decided that this is the artisan, we have to get the dress made. They gave the order and got the dress made. And then finally, when the delivery day came, they brought in the entire caravan, and then with a lot of fanfare, they carried the king's dress, where the Arvind stood in his shop. Now, by all means, Arvind had all the credentials. He had the best handloom, he had the best fabric, he had the best skills, but still, Arvind was not selected. Someone else who was more visible was selected. Now, why am I sharing this story with you? Because in today's day and age, those servants are replaced by AI, and all of us have those servants. Now, when we have to look for something similar to how King did, wherein he asked his servants to go out and look for the artisans, we also do that. So that's where we are asking AI to search for this supplier, that supplier, recommend a product, recommend a best selling author, best selling book, right? So we all do that almost on a daily basis. Now, as a seller, as a business, this is very important and crucial, because this is where what is happening, that your buyers are now using AI. Now, similar to how Arvind was not found because he was not visible by the king's servant, you can also be facing the same scenario wherein AI may not find you. So that's why I was sharing this story, and I hope it helps you understand the situation. Now, we will use this story further. This is not the end of the story. This is where we have gone through the first chapter of the story. We will do the entire session and we'll keep building on this story. Now, you have understood the challenge. I think all of you have understood the challenge Arvind faces, right? The challenge is of visibility. Now, let's fast forward the story and let's bring Arvind to 2026. Now, what has changed on your slide? So, the Maharaja is a global procurement head of a large fashion giant based in New York. The servants are AI. The wooden signboards are replaced by digital architecture or your digital online presence. And the Arvind is now a modern export factory owner. So this is where we are forwarding the story to 2026. Now, the mission for all of us today is to make Arvind discoverable by the servants so that he can make the dresses for the king, which is a large fashion chain based out of US. Right. So that's the mission that we are all going to achieve in today's session. And I am going to take you through this exercise. So let's move ahead. Now, the first uh, thing that we have to understand is the paradox which is there, which is of your discoverability and skill. So here we have the ancient Irvin we all relate to. We have just heard a story wherein he lost once in a lifetime opportunity to make the finest dress for the king, right? So we have heard his story. Now here we have this grid wherein we have skill on one side and we have visibility on the other axis. Now this is low and this is high. So on the top, we have Arvind, who is very, very skilled. At the bottom or at the other axis, we have visibility, which is low and high. So the extreme ends are high, and this is where we have low. So his visibility was low, and he has very high skill. So that's the ancient Irwin we all know of, so where he had skills, but his visibility was low. Now we have another variation, which is a failing shop. So failing shop is basically a business which does not have skill and does not have visibility, right? So you don't have anything. So that's where whatever time it takes, whatever time you can survive, but this is where your doom is absolutely certain. So that is the failing shop scenario. And then we have the hollow marketer. So hollow marketer is someone who is very good at visibility, is able to present themselves very nicely and all, but doesn't deliver. So they are extremely low at skill, right? So they are low on skill, but very high on visibility. Those are hollow marketer. And now these are also short-lived. It is not like they are going to prosper and all. They are also short-lived because what happens after a period of time, people start becoming familiar. In the business community, it is not very difficult to know about other businesses, and that's where that news spreads and people start feeling, and bad reviews and all that start coming in, and that's where, despite their expertise and their persona and the aura that they carry, they are not going to sustain for a long because they don't have skill, right? So they are not delivering, they are just talking. So that's the hollow marketer, and that's where we have the modern master. So basically what we have to do, and this is where this grid helps to understand our mission for today, we have to move the ancient Irwin to the modern master. So modern master is very good at skill and at the same time is very good at visibility. So that's the modern master we have to make. And how are we going to do that? Let's understand. So that's where now the physical transition is happening. So your physical location is your authority and domain, your window display is your schemas, and your word of mouth is your indexing, and your guild membership is your digital footprint. So that transition we have already talked about. But now coming to our objective, our mission, and that is to help Irwin transition from ancient Irwin to a modern master and finally get that order. So that's where what we have to do is, so we have to work on these pillars that will build the AI discoverability or AI recommendability of Arvind's business. What are these pillars? So the pillar number one is identity. The pillar two is capability. Pillar three is trust. And the pillar four is technical readiness. So we have to work on all of these pillars. If any of the pillar is cracked or broken or weak, the structure falls down. So every pillar has to be strong, and we will understand all of these pillars, or we'll build these pillars together. So let's move ahead. So the first pillar of identity. So this is where Arvind has this factory wherein he manufactures all his produces or all his products, the fashion apparels. So because Arvind was a artisans into garments and handloom, so the same industry is carried forward. Now, when it comes to the identity architecture, this is where the information is needed because AI need to understand that this is Arvind and this is what he does. Now, if we have to make Arvind's business AI understandable. Understand here. The first challenge is understandability. AI can understand your business. The second is recommendability. So, firstly, you have to be on the level one, and you can't jump to level two from level zero. You have to firstly go to level one, and then you'll go to level two. So, that's where to help AI understand your business properly, what do you need? So, there you have different pieces of information. Now, don't take this as a yardstick that it applies to everyone. That you are a agri product exporter, it applies to you. You are a machinery exporter, you are into pharmaceutical, it applies to you. No, it varies from industry to industry, but this is something which I created as a representation to help understand and also to carry along with the story that we are all working on. So, to build that identity so that the modern servants can understand about this particular business. That the ancient Arvind had huge aura around the art and the craft, and similarly, this modern Arvind is also very skilled. He has a nice factory, he has nice labor, and all the good things are there. But does AI know that? To help AI know that, that's where we have to create the corporate identity. Now, how do we do that? So that's where we have to create information on the website. What all information do we have to create? So, for example, about us, why choose us, company profile, leadership team, and then what is the infrastructure? So factory, how many sewing machine, what type of cutters and whatnot. That production development process, because it is needed in the garment industry, sampling process, bulk production, quality control process, fabric sourcing process, packing and labeling, lead time, etc. Now these are something which I have put together for Arvind's business. It is not like it's for everyone, but it helps you understand that this is the magnitude and level of information which is required to be there on your website to help the modern servants understand you. Now, here, I need your help. Tell me honestly, how many of you have more than two business information pages? I'm not talking about all the pages which are there on your website, which are talking about your business, like your team, your story, your leadership team, like those. So, how many of you have more than two pages dedicated to? So, you can type yes if you have those, or you can type no if you don't have more than two pages. So this is where we will also jointly understand, like, where do you sit with regards to the AI understandability. And this is where you can see how many of our friends are replying with no. So it hope it gives you a clarity that the website, and this is where let's be very clear, the website that you made was never meant for AI. Correct me if I'm wrong. The website you made, I'm just repeating what I said. The website you made was made for human beings. It was never made for AI. Right? So when I'm saying that you need these many pages, those were not required because these are now required for AI. When I made my website, I made it for human beings. That's the scenario. It is not like a intentional mistake, something blunder or something you have done. No, it is because now the scenario is changed. Now the gatekeeper is changed. So we have to work for the gatekeeper. That's the evolution in our technology and how we are doing business. That's the part of the evolution. We have to evolve, right? So that's is so don't feel that I have done something mistake or I've done that. No, you had created for human beings, and human beings can go through that information, and it is very difficult for a human being to go through that many pages. If I gave you that many pages, you'll feel intimidated, but AI will like it because that's where it gets a better clarity. It is able to absorb all that, and then it is able to form a better information persona of you and your organization around it, right? So it is very liked by AI, but not by human beings. And you created the website for human beings. So don't feel bad, okay, I have done something. No, nothing of that sort. It is just that we have to now evolve. That's the point. So that's the first pillar. So now, if we help Arvind create all these pages on his website, that will solve the first identity challenge that we had in our mission to make Arvind AI understandable. And finally, he gets that order from the king. Then the second element is the capability, and that's where we go to the product. This will be easier for for us to understand. Now this is where again I have reviewed thousands of websites of B2B businesses, and many websites which, when I review, they don't have product detail page on them. Now in today's time, 2026, if you don't have a product detail page on your website, I am being little upfront or blunt in my statement, and please excuse me if you find my words strong, but it is equivalent to not having a website if you don't have a product detail page. Why do I say that? Because in today's time, in 2026, search is for the product. If I want to have a polo t-shirt, I'm looking for polo t-shirt. If I want black pepper, I'm looking for black pepper. If I want basmati rice, I'm looking for basmati rice. If I want a steam steam boiler, I'm looking for a steam boiler. If I'm looking for sanitizer, I'm looking for sanitizer plant for my hospital, I'm looking for that. Or oxygen plant for my hospital, I'm looking for that, right? So I'm looking for the product, and just having a page with where you have written the names of the products and added one or two lines will not help. It is almost as if not having a website. And if you're getting confused, like what is the product detail page, let me try to help you or show you an example. Now, this is an example of a product detail page, but this is a B2C. Let's not get confused with that. I believe many of you are B2B. Let's go here. And I may have a product detail page open. Sorry. There are so many tabs. I keep getting lost myself. So this is a product category listing page, as we call it. Category. This is where all the products which are there in a particular category. For example, pulses. So they have these many products in the pulses. So if your website stops here, so you have small image and you have written the name or possibly one or two lines of text about that product. If it stops here, that's where you don't have a website. You can consider it that way. This is the product detail page. Now, I'm not saying that this is the finest example. I just opened it randomly, but this is where it has its own title, it has its own information, it has its own detail, right? So, frequently asked questions are also there, which helps AI. AI likes them a lot. So, all that information is here. Now, if you compare this and this, if someone is looking for moong dal, the chances of this page getting found are exceptionally higher as compared to someone finding you here. Right? This is part of a page. This is probably a line or a word on a page. This is a page itself which has probably 200, 300 word of content. It has its own meta, its own description, its own URL. It has everything, right? So it is like a being on the internet. It has all that information, right? So you can't compete with this with one or two words worth of content or 10 words worth of content, right? This is a rabbit versus an elephant kind of a scenario. So obviously, you know the outcome. So if you don't have that, that's where you genuinely have a problem in 2026, because you will find it very difficult to get visibility. Now, when it comes to structuring this, this is where again you have to be very detailed in this, where again I've put the example keeping our mission to make Arvind AI understandable. So what he does is, because he deals in garments, so that's where he creates a men's and women wear category. He creates a kids products category, and knitted wear, right? So knitted and woven products category, and uniform, because he manufactures uniform. So he also creates a category for that. Now he could have just created this one or this one. Why did he create it? Because knitted products will be there in men's and women wear, or uniform may be there in that, right? He could have stopped there, but he wanted to expand his visibility and help AI understand that I also do this, I also do that, right? So that's where he has created all those categories and presented them on his website, right? So if there's a tomorrow buyer who's looking for knitted product, that's where you are. If they're looking for uniform, that's where you are, right? So that's where you have to go beyond that. And an example which I often give, that imagine you are a spice exporter. I'll repeat, you are a spice exporter and you deal in different spices, and black pepper happened to be one of the strong products of yours, that you deal in black pepper, and you have the finest quality and you have all the varieties, etc. Now, how will you go about listing that? Right? Now, the traditional pre 2025 approach was you will list it like this. You will create a spice category. Just imagine that this is a spice category and you will list the product here. Now, if you genuinely want to be AI discoverable, you have to go deeper. You have to drill down. Now, what does that drill down means? So that's where you have black pepper. Then you have all the variations of black pepper. So, for example, in India, you have Malabar and Teli cherry. So, those are the variations. You have to also create products. So, that's where the black pepper, which was a product in one of your spice category, now becomes a category itself. So black pepper becomes a category, and then inside black pepper, you have Malabar black pepper, you have Telicherry black pepper, and even in Malabar and Telicherry, you have different variations, M1 grade, M2 grade. So that's graded products are there, right? So you have to go to that detailing, you have to go to that description, right? In fact, the magic lies in detail. That's a statement which I often make, which helps you understand. So you have to go to the extreme detail possible so that nothing gets missed out. You have to cover everything. That's the mission or that's the objective. Now we have the technical niches. So he didn't stop there that, okay, I added knitwear, I added uniform. That's the end of it. No, he went ahead. And that's where he also dealt in active wear and sportswear. He also dealt in sleepwear and loungewear. So he also added that. Now, it does not mean that sleepwear and loungewear are not there in men's and women. It is cross, right? So, which we called a matrix navigation. So, one product displayed at multiple places. There are different ways of showing that product. Then you have custom apparel. So, based on the requirement, and these may not be a product, this may be a information page that we also do custom apparel. So, it essentially does not have to be a category page. If you have products, yes, certainly you should show. But for some things, you can even create a page where you're talking that we also do custom manufacturing, and these are the example of the products, and these are the clients for whom we have worked. Private labeling. So if you are open to private labeling, you should be adding that to all the products, in fact, to the product title also. And you can even have a page around that. Let me see if I can explain that with an example. So let's, sorry, I think it was some other product. Yeah, they do private labeling. So they have added a page there. But even in the products, it is mentioned that they are for private labeling. This is where you can see I'm highlighting it. So you have to be very specific. You have to be contextual. One thing which has changed from search engine optimization to AI search is the context, right? So in what context you are to be shown. So if there's someone who's looking for private labeling, it has to show that. That's where you have to be very specific. You are talking about private labeling. So this is you can show it with each product. You can add that in the title, in the description, and you can also create a dedicated page for private labeling, and you can define like how do we do private labeling and what are the products or categories we are open to do private labeling, and these are the examples, etc. Right, that you can create a page. Then you have sustainable apparel. So if you deal in sustainable apparel, fabric capabilities, do you have how you're sourcing those uh, fabrics and printing and embellishment capabilities, MOQ. These are more information pages, but these are all related to the sourcing. So if there's someone who's wanting to do business with you, they would want to understand how are you sourcing your product, and what are your capabilities with regards to fabric, how are you doing your printing and embellishment. So all those questions you are already answering them, and what are the minimum order quantities, or what is the minimum production run, etc. So those kind of things you are already answering them, right? So this is how you, Arvind, is able to create a capability pillar for himself for becoming AI understandable. Now the last pillar is the trust. Now, the last pillar, technically, there is a fourth one also, but with regards to the content, this is the last pillar, and this is where you have all the things which makes you trustworthy. Now, this is a difficult territory. The other ones were easier one, but this is where you have to even go beyond your websites and you do the things. So we will discuss that. And this is where what you have to do. So this is where firstly you have to present yourself that I am a genuine, I'm not a fraudster. I am a genuine organization. I run a genuine business. And that's where you have to create. So what did Arvind do? So Arvind went ahead and that's where he created a certifications and audit, and that's where he mentioned that I have these RAP compliance, I have CDEX compliance, I have GOAT certification, ISO, and whatnot, whatever was relevant to him. So he has created a page and showcased them. Now this is where you can just simply write, and a lot of businesses, in fact, earlier today only, I was talking to a business and they had just added logos of these are the compliances that we have. That is not the way to do it. Ideally, you should be mentioning that these are the certifications that we have and also showing the certifications, or you can also be presenting them like this. I would recommend you, if you can do, you should be doing it like this, wherein you're talking about the certificate and what are the implications or bullet points related to that, and then you have the certificate itself. So you can also specify like what is this certificate, what does this mean, and then you also show the certificate. This is where if you click on it, it will take you to the certificate. So like that, you have to show. So adding this logos will not work. You have to explain what the certificate is, and you have to also show so that AI can review those certificates and it can assume, okay, this Arvind person is a genuine person. All right. Now we have to also build the trust fund, right? So one, you have presented, we are genuine, we are a trustworthy organization. Now, how to build the trust. So that's where your testimonials come in. Now, a lot of businesses I've seen, they create a small section on the home page, and that's where they just display the testimonials. A lot of those testimonials are added as image. Understand, AI is not going to absorb those images. It is not going to. Technically, it can do that. It can even read the text, but when it is coming to your website to extract the information, it is not looking at that. It needs information in a code format, not in an image format. So that's where it will not be able to absorb that. So you should ideally be creating a testimonials page. Let me try to see if I can show you. So like this. Right? So dedicated page. Now, the advantage that you get with this approach is that you also get index. So your testimonials are indexed. They are appearing in Google search, and it is also indexed by AI. So it knows, okay, this guy has testimonial case studies. Now, a lot of times when I talk about case studies, a counter opinion which I get, and I can imagine that many of you will be also having that opinion, that we are a startup or we have just started this business, and we don't have case studies. So case studies, if you have case studies about how you have helped the customers, how they have experienced your product or your service, and how they have benefit, that's the ideal one. But you can also create case studies about the product, how the product is helping, or a particular process or a particular art form you can even create. So for example, you are dealing in a art form called kalamkari. So in that case, you can have a case study around the kalamkari, how it has evolved and how the artisans are impacted by the modern technology and the lack of opportunities, etc. Right? So you can also create case studies around those. But those are option number two. If you can create around the customer itself, that is phenomenal. But if not, that's where again it is not like the end of the world for you. You can create it for the products, for the industry, for the art form, for anything that is related to your business, and or even the social impact that you're trying to make. Even around that, you can create those case studies. Then you have buyer reviews, then you have factory. So if you are a manufacturer, it is a must that you should have a factory page. If possible, get a video shoot done and display that. Go to any of the Chinese factory website, you will find a must video of the factory tour. Similarly, get a video shot and add it, but I'm not saying that you have to do it immediately. What is immediately required? Because even video is for human beings, it is not going to benefit with AI. For AI, we need a page where you're talking in detail about your factory, your equipment, and all the capabilities which you are there. So that should be there. And then any media mentions that you have, or any award or recognition that you have received, you should be adding all that, right? So that is the trust footprint. Now it goes beyond this. I told you that it goes beyond this. What is beyond this? So this is the website part. Now, in addition to this, what you should be working on is Google My Business Profile. It, if you haven't created, create it immediately. It is some experts call it like the passport for AI discoverability. So it is very important. It should be updated, and you should get as many reviews as possible. Create a mission, internal mission, that I have to get 100 reviews by end of 2026, and start working on it. So that's there. Then your social profile should be active. So it should be properly updated. It should have all the about and banners and everything. And it should be active. Active means you should be at least doing one post a week. If you can do more, phenomenal. But generally, B2B businesses, I haven't seen them being that active. So that's where what you have to do is you have to use AI. Use AI to create the calendar, and once you have created the calendar, then use AI to create the content. And once you have created the content, use a scheduling service to schedule the content so that it works in a automated manner. And every day, you don't have to spend your time doing that, right? So that is something that you have to do beyond your website, and that's what Arvind will also have to do beyond the website. Now we are quickly moving on to the last section, and that's the pillar number 4. Now, if this pillar is weak or broken, everything else we have built will collapse. If this is not right, everything else will collapse. Now, this is where there are few things, few checks that you should do. But the most important one is the structured data, because unlike us, we look at a website and we see the information in a particular way. AI does not do that. So I was showing you this particular page, Moong Dal. We are seeing an image, we are seeing a font, we are seeing some text written here. AI does not see it like this. AI looks at it differently. So your website should have schema, and it should have the right schema also. Many websites, when I review, I found that they do have schema, but because they had been built on platforms which are known for creating blogs, etc. So that's where what happens. Your schema is either a article or a website page or a web page. That's where AI will perceive it as a article or a web page, despite the fact that you have added all the product related information. AI will not perceive it because you will tell yourself telling it that it is a web page. So there, what you should be doing is you should have the right schema. I am showing to you on the screen the right schema. It should have organization where it is telling that the product belongs to this organization, and it should have the product schema, and it is there on the product detail page. So you must have a product detail page, and on the product detail page you should have a product schema, because if it is not there, no matter what you have done, you have hired the world's finest content writer and the SEO expert. If this is wrong, nothing, absolutely zero benefit you will get. So that is very crucial. Other than that, you have to check for indexing. A lot of times you will not believe, I've met one client, and they got a website made almost like 5 years ago. And when I was reviewing the website, I noticed that not even a single page is indexed. And I was curious, how is this possible? The website is like 5 years old. Something should be indexed. I'm not expecting that every page should be indexed. Ideally, over that period of time, every page should be indexed. But I was expecting like something should be there. Nothing was there. And when we investigated that, we found that the developer had put blocks to prevent the crawlers from crawling the website, right? So that business for 5 years had a website which was good for nothing. No one can find that website. No one. If even if you are searching exactly by the name, still you will not find, because Google is not aware of that website. So that's where you should check for indexing. It is very simple. Go to Google, type site, and then uh, your URL. Let me try to see if I can show you. Let's use the same website. So this is the URL. So you have to go and type site on Google and copy paste. This is where you will get. Now, this is where if you don't get anything, you find a character sitting in blue, critical issue. Nothing is there. Now, people who are familiar with SEO will say, this is a test related to SEO. Why are you showing this with AI? This is an indicative test that we are doing. Because if this is wrong, then for certainty, AI does not know. If Google does not know, then AI will also not know. So it indicates that there is some issue. So if you don't have any pages, that's a critical issue. If you have less pages, so imagine you have 100 pages and out of that only 20 are showing, that is an issue. If all are showing, that's where you are good. So you have to check for indexation, you have to check for the schema, you have to also check for page speed. So once you have done all those checks, that's where it will get filtered down, and that's where you will be going through and becoming. So that's where we have all our filters. So this is the identity, and then we have the products and keywords, and then we have the trust, and this is where we have the technical readiness, and that's the final filter. And after that, we are gone through. So that's where the architecture. Now, this is where we have added what are the search optimizations and social optimization and knowledge authority work that you have to do, that Arvind has to do. So for search optimization, Google My Business profile and Bing profile, they have to update and get as many reviews. For social, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the social channels, despite the fact that you're a B2B business, you should be present on all the social channels, and they should be properly updated, and you should be posting regularly. Knowledge authority, blog articles. As I mentioned, you should be looking for uh, the questions which people are asking for the products related to you, and you should be then answering them through blog articles. So this is something that should you be doing, and then listing your business on Indian business portal or similar marketplaces. That builds authority, because Indian business portal is backed by FIO, Federation of Indian Export Organization, which is the government of India's apex export promotion body, right? So it automatically gives you the verified tag. So that is also something that Arvind has to do, and you should also be doing. And that makes our Arvind finally discovered by the modern servant, and he is able to get the order from the procurement or from the procurement head of the fashion chain. Right. So this is the story that I wanted to share with you. And also, as we went through the story, I also help you understand what are the gaps which are actually preventing you from becoming AI understandable. So I hope you found this story interesting. And just a quick second, I just noticed my camera is having an issue. Right. Perfect. Now, I've told you basically what is the problem and how you have to fix it. Now, if you need help in fixing this, we do have a service, because I'd been talking to a lot of businesses in person also. In addition to the webinars, I had been getting into one-on-one meeting sessions. And that's where a lot of businesses have come to us that, okay, you have opened our eyes and you have helped us understand what are the issues, but how do we fix them? That's where we have built a service that is entirely focused around this aspect, which is helping businesses becoming AI understandable. Now, if any one of you is interested in availing that service, you can let me know, and I can explain about that service. It is called the Done For Me B2B website setup service. And the objective of that service is to make the business AI understandable, right? So how do we go about that service? So it as I mentioned, it goes through the entire journey, all the four pillars. So the first is identity. That's where we do the research. We understand what are the pieces of information, similar to how Arvind identified that these are the pieces of information that are needed. We will identify those pieces of information and will create all those content, obviously getting it reviewed. Then the product part. So all the product information, we will create all that product information with the required depth and in the right architecture so that AI understands it. Now comes the trust part. So that's where your certification and compliance pages, all the pages, anything that makes you trustworthy, we'll create those. And we will also create the blog articles, which helps you with the knowledge authority. We will also help you in optimizing your social presence, whether it is your Google My Business profile or your social channels. We'll help you in optimizing all that. So the end objective is to make you AI understandable. Now, if you keep working on your social aspects, on your uh, knowledge authority, that's where you become AI recommendable also, right? So AI has to develop that trust. On the day one, your website goes live magically, AI thinks, okay, there is this finest exporter who has come. No, it will not work like that. It takes time for AI. So over next few months, if you continue work on the knowledge aspects and on the social aspects, and you have the relevant things on your website, yes, you will become AI recommendable also, where AI actually starts recommending you and you start getting from there. So that service is available. And I can see there are a few members who are interested in availing that service. So if everyone is okay, I can quickly walk you through that service. So just allow me a quick second to do that. All right. So I've started presenting my screen once again. This is the done for me B2B website setup service, which I was sharing with you earlier. Now, as part of this service, what we do is we do the entire setup from product to pages to blog articles. Everything is optimized, and then we do the website setup. Now, for a moment, I'll take you to one of the example website very quickly. I may have it here, right? So let's take this example, this website as an example. So imagine that you are coming to us to avail the service. What will we do? So the first aspect are the identity and the trust pillars. Now, for that, we will do the research and we will identify the topics for which we have to create the pages. You will share whatever information you have, and based on that information and our research, we will create the content of those pages, and then we will share that content with you. You will approve, and then we will create these pages. So for example, this is a export process page, and this is where you can see it is a designed page. So it is not like some text only page which is created only for AI. No, these are also for human beings, because as a human being, I can come here and I may want to understand that as well. So it is all properly designed as well. So we will create all the contents. We'll research and create the content. Now comes the product part. So that's where you will provide us with the information that these are the products that I deal in, and then we will create all the content. So titles, all the descriptions, everything we will create, and we will upload the products. Next comes the knowledge part. So that's where again we do a research, we identify the topics which are there, and then or the questions which the customers are asking online. And once we have identified those questions, then we will share those topics with you. You will review it and you will share your inputs that this is okay, this you can avoid. So we will finalize that list and we'll create 6 8 blog articles for you. This is the starting point. Obviously, this is not like you have created 6 8 blog articles and then you magically appear. No, you have to keep on working on that. So the first part, the initial bit we will do, and then we will train you and how you can go keep going it forward, and you can very easily you do that with AI. So how you are going to use AI, we will even give you prompts how to do that research and how to create the articles. We'll create everything and share it with you, and you have to just keep on working on that. So that's how we do the setup. So it is entire end-to-end setup that we will do, but it does not stop there. In addition to setting up the website and creating the entire content, and which is also formatted for AI. So for a moment, I missed sharing that with you. So on the product page, you may have noticed we don't have long form content here. So all the paragraphs are like very, very small, like 1 or 2 lines, and then we have bullet points. And again, here you'll see that are very small. And in many cases, you will also see that we have added uh, frequently asked questions. Now, all of this is to help AI consume that information in a better way, because AI hates long paragraphs or long form content. So it like short content which it can pass on as answers. So that's where we also create that content in a way. It is not just about creating content, it is also creating it in a way that AI can use it, because our end objective is to help AI understand us. If we are not creating the content in that way that AI can't understand, that defeats the purpose. That then what is the objective? So we go to that detail. We keep everything into consideration, and that's how we do the setup. So that's the website setup part. Then comes the listing part. So we will list your products on the 2 marketplaces that we operate. One is the Indian Business Portal, which we have created in collaboration with FIEO, which is the Federation of Indian Export Organization, which is a premier export promotion body by the government of India. So this is one marketplace where we will showcase your product. The second marketplace is the Global Income Marketplace, which is a cross-border B2B sourcing platform. So this is where again your products will be displayed, and the difference is Indian Business Portal is purely export. This is where you have domestic plus international. So in both the places, it will give you additional visibility uh, of your digital presence and improve your chances of getting leads or inquiries. So that is the listing part. We will also set up WhatsApp catalog, WhatsApp product catalogs for you. So WhatsApp product catalog basically means that the products which are there on your website, they get automatically synced with your WhatsApp catalog, and any customer can review your WhatsApp catalog, and in fact can even send you an inquiry. So we will do that setup also. Plus, integration wise, we will integrate with Google Analytics, which, as you may be knowing, is a common platform created by Google, which helps businesses analyze the traffic which is coming to their website. So, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Microsoft Clarity, which is sort of a camera, which helps you understand how the customer is going through your website, so you can understand where the drop-offs are happening, and then you can fix on that, the content gaps, etc. It's a very handy tool to help you do that. So, you have Microsoft Clarity, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager. Uh, Google Search Console, which is very important for search engine optimization. We integrate with that. And for B2C sellers, we also integrate with Google Merchant Center, which is Google Shopping. In fact, we also have an integration with ChatGPT's shopping, which is equivalent to Google Shopping, which is there from ChatGPT. So we even have an integration with that. We do all that integration for you as part of the process, right? Now, with respect to timelines, a lot of people ask us. So timeline wise, it will take you about 15 days from start to end. Uh, yeah. So this is where 15 days. So here we have. So 15 days, within 15 days, we will do the entire setup and hand over the website to you. And after that, we will get into the training sessions with you. The website we will be building are on our platform, on Global Inker's own platform. Now, why is that? So Global Inker's own platform is a no-code solution, which allows you to get freedom and independence from developers. So you are not dependent on developer. You can manage everything on your own. and it is economical as well. So we will be building it on our platform. So it is very easy and simple to use, but familiarization is required, right? Where should you click to upload a product? Where should you click to add a blog article? Where should you click to respond to an inquiry, right? So we will help you understand all that, and we will handhold you. So always our team is available to handhold and support you. So that's how we have to, we will be going through this service. Now comes the important question around the pricing. So the pricing for this service is 24,999. The actual price for this service is 1.5L, but because we deal a lot with MSMEs, and a lot of MSMEs have asked us to create a very affordable pricing for it. So that's why we are offering it at a huge discount, and it is available for only 25,000. And this pricing is only for the first year. It is not like every year you are paying 24,999. No, from the second year onwards, you are only paying 4,999. First year is 24,999. So first year 25,000, second year 5,000. Every year you have to pay 5,000, and it includes everything: hosting, tech support, etc., etc. Everything is included. The only exception is your domain, because domain is an intellectual property. So as a business, you should be owning it. So that's where the domain registration and renewal, and most of you must be already having a domain, so you don't have to invest on that. So there is no other hidden cost or something. It is all included in this pricing, right? So this is the service. Now I'm going to share the link with everyone in the chat. And after the webinar, I'll also drop an email personally to all of you with the recording of the session and a link to the service. So if any one of you is interested to get onto a one-on-one meeting to discuss this in person, you are more than welcome to reply to that email, or you can reply to me. I am going to share my contact details as well with all of you. So you can reply to me over my email or phone number also. Perfect. So this is where I hope you got a sense in terms of the service that is there to help you become AI understandable. Let me quickly share my contact details. So I have chatted my email ID and phone number. So if any one of you is interested, you can reach out. Okay, Mr. Imran Sheikh has asked for my mobile number, so I've chatted it. I am also going to share it with you via personal chat. Perfect. I'm glad I've just read Kashif's uh, comment. So I'm glad that you found the session informative. It's a very dry subject, so I try to share it in as entertaining and as engaging manner. And I'm glad that you liked it. So any other question, any other comment, suggestion you would like to share before we conclude the session for today? So I'm guessing there are no further questions. So this is where we will conclude the session for today. Thank you all of you for taking out time and participating in this session. And I'm glad and happy that you liked this session. And uh, please do follow Global Inker. In fact, you should create your account and follow Global Inker on Instagram and Facebook. And that's where we keep doing these kind of informative sessions. And I'm sure you'll find those informative as well. So perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Bye bye.